Sarah Chen had always been different. While other kids played video games, she taught herself 7 programming languages before turning 16. While her classmates worried about prom dates, she was breaking into her high school's computer system just to prove she could fix their security problems. The acceptance letter from the FBI Academy arrived on a Tuesday morning in March. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the official letterhead. After months of applications, background checks, and interviews, she was finally in. Her dream of serving her country through cybersecurity was about to become reality. Quantico felt like stepping into a different world. The red brick buildings stood like monuments to law enforcement excellence. Sarah arrived with 2 suitcases and a laptop that had seen better days. She was 22, the youngest in her class, and one of only 12 women among 60 trainees. The first week went smoothly enough. Physical training pushed her limits, but Sarah had prepared by running 5 miles every morning for 6 months. Academic coursework felt familiar after her computer science degree. She excelled in cybersecurity modules, often finishing assignments in half the allotted time. But Special Agent Martinez, her supervising instructor, seemed determined to find fault with everything she did. "Chen, your shooting stance is all wrong," he barked during weapons training. Sarah adjusted her position, scored a perfect bullseye, then watched Martinez mark down a failing grade anyway. "Your report writing lacks proper procedure," he said the following week, returning her assignment covered in red ink. Sarah had followed the manual exactly, but Martinez insisted her approach was too innovative for federal standards. Other trainees noticed the unfair treatment. Jake Morrison, a former Marine, pulled Sarah aside after a particularly brutal critique session. "He's doing this on purpose," Jake said quietly. "Everyone can see it. Your work is better than half the class, but he grades you like you can't tie your own shoes." Sarah tried to stay positive. She worked harder, studied longer, and pushed herself beyond every limit. When Martinez criticized her physical performance, she added extra hours in the gym. When he questioned her knowledge of federal law, she memorized entire sections of the legal code. Nothing worked. The breaking point came during a simulated hostage scenario. Teams of trainees were given a complex situation involving armed suspects, innocent civilians, and multiple law enforcement agencies. Sarah's team was tasked with coordinating cyber intelligence while supporting tactical units on the ground. Within minutes, Sarah had identified the suspects' communication patterns, tracked their digital footprints, and provided real-time intelligence that would have saved lives in a real situation. Her team completed the exercise faster and more efficiently than any other group that day. During the debrief, Martinez ignored Sarah's contributions entirely. He praised other team members for work they hadn't done, then turned to Sarah with cold eyes. "Chen, your performance today was unacceptable. You failed to follow proper chain of command protocols and showed dangerous initiative that could have compromised the entire operation." The room fell silent. Even trainees from other teams looked shocked. Sarah's own teammates started to speak up, but Martinez cut them off. "I've seen enough," he continued. "Some people aren't cut out for federal law enforcement. Chen, report to the administration office tomorrow morning. Your training is terminated." That night, Sarah sat on her narrow dorm bed staring at the termination paperwork. 2 months of perfect scores in academics, exemplary performance in most practical exercises, and commendations from every instructor except Martinez. None of it mattered. She called her parents in California. Her father, an engineer, listened quietly as she explained what had happened. Her mother cried softly in the background. "Sweetheart, maybe this just wasn't meant to be," her father said gently. "You can always apply to private cybersecurity firms. The pay is better anyway." But Sarah felt like she was abandoning something important. Since childhood, she had dreamed of using her skills to protect people. Private companies focused on profit margins and data protection. She wanted to hunt down terrorists, stop international criminals, and safeguard national security. The next morning, Sarah packed her belongings while other trainees attended their regular classes. Martinez appeared in her doorway as she folded her last shirt. Some people just don't have what it takes, he said with satisfaction. Better to learn that now than fail when lives depend on you. Sarah looked up at him steadily. With respect, sir, I know exactly what I'm capable of. And, someday, you'll know too. She signed the final paperwork and loaded her car. As she drove away from Quantico, Sarah felt angry and frustrated, but not defeated. Somewhere out there was a place that would value her skills and dedication. She just had to find it. Back in San Francisco, Sarah moved into a small apartment and started freelancing for tech companies. The work paid well but felt hollow. She designed security systems for social media platforms and protected corporate databases from hackers. Important work, but it lacked the sense of purpose she craved. 3 months after leaving Quantico, Sarah received an unexpected email. The sender's address was a simple government domain, but the message itself was intriguing. Miss Chen, we've reviewed your academic record and training performance at Quantico. We believe your skills might be better suited to a different type of government service. If you're interested in discussing opportunities that better match your capabilities, please reply to this message. No signature, no agency identification, nothing that would indicate where the message originated. But something about the professional tone and careful wording made Sarah curious. She typed a simple response, "I'm interested." The reply came within hours, containing only an address in Arlington, Virginia, and an appointment time for the following Tuesday. Sarah booked a flight that same day. The building looked like any other office complex in the Washington area. Glass facade, generic lobby, directory full of consulting firms and legal offices. But the security checkpoint seemed unusually thorough, and the guards carried themselves like former military personnel. Room 847 contained a single desk, 2 chairs, and no windows. The woman waiting inside appeared to be in her 40s, with graying hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to catalog every detail about Sarah within seconds. "Please sit down, Miss Chen. I'm Director Patricia Wells, and I've been following your situation with interest." Sarah remained silent, unsure what kind of response was expected. Director Wells opened a thick file folder. "Your instructor at Quantico, Agent Martinez, has a history of bias against female trainees and anyone he perceives as too intellectually gifted for his comfort level. Unfortunately, his personal prejudices cost the Bureau a potentially valuable agent." The words felt like vindication after months of self-doubt. Sarah had suspected Martinez's treatment was unfair, but hearing it confirmed by someone in authority was deeply satisfying. However, Wells continued, his loss might be our gain. "Tell me, Miss Chen, what do you know about the Central Intelligence Agency?" Sarah's heart rate quickened. The CIA represented the pinnacle of intelligence work, but she had never seriously considered applying. Their recruitment process was notoriously secretive, and most agents came from military backgrounds or Ivy League universities. "I know they handle foreign intelligence and national security threats," Sarah answered carefully. "But I assumed they wouldn't be interested in someone who couldn't even finish FBI training." Director Wells smiled slightly. "Agent Martinez's evaluation of your capabilities differs significantly from our assessment. We've been monitoring your work since your second week at Quantico. Your performance in cyber warfare simulations was exceptional, and your innovative approaches to digital intelligence gathering caught our attention." The director pulled out several documents from the file. Sarah recognized her own work from Quantico exercises, but these copies were annotated with comments she had never seen before. "Your solution to the terrorist cell communication exercise was brilliant," Wells continued. "While other trainees focused on traditional surveillance methods, you identified a pattern in their social media activity that would have led to arrests within days. That kind of creative thinking is exactly what we need." Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and confusion. "But why didn't anyone tell me this at the time?" "Because the FBI has different priorities and methods than we do. They need agents who follow established protocols precisely. We need people who can think beyond conventional approaches and adapt to rapidly changing situations." Wells leaned forward in her chair. "Tell me about your programming background. I understand you're self-taught in multiple languages. For the next hour, Sarah described her journey into cybersecurity. She explained how curiosity about computer systems had led her to discover vulnerabilities in everything from school networks to local government databases. She always reported the problems she found, helping organizations fix their security rather than exploiting weaknesses for personal gain. Most interesting, Wells noted. You have the skills of a black hat hacker but the ethics of white hat security researcher. That combination is rare and valuable. The conversation shifted to international affairs and global security threats. Sarah found herself discussing cyber warfare tactics used by foreign governments, the challenges of tracking digital currencies in criminal networks, and emerging technologies that could revolutionize intelligence gathering. Director Wells asked increasingly complex hypothetical questions. How would Sarah penetrate a foreign government's secure communications? What methods would she use to identify sleeper agents operating in American cities? How could technology be used to predict and prevent terrorist attacks? Sarah answered thoughtfully, drawing on her technical knowledge while considering ethical implications and practical constraints. She suggested approaches that balanced effectiveness with legal requirements and human rights considerations. Excellent, Wells said finally. Your technical skills are impressive, but, more importantly, you understand that intelligence work requires moral clarity. Power without principle leads to abuse. The director closed Sarah's file and looked directly into her eyes. I'm prepared to offer you a position with the agency, but I need you to understand what you're considering. CIA work is more demanding and dangerous than FBI domestic operations. You'll face threats that could cost you your life, and you'll be asked to make decisions with incomplete information under extreme pressure. Sarah thought about her months of disappointment after leaving Quantico. The sense of wasted potential and unfulfilled purpose had been eating away at her confidence. This felt like a second chance to serve something greater than herself. What would my role be exactly? Sarah asked. Initially, you'll join our cyber operations division. We're building a new team focused on digital intelligence gathering and cyber warfare defense. Your job will be to identify threats before they materialize and develop countermeasures to protect American interests abroad. The possibility of working on cutting-edge cybersecurity challenges while serving national security interests appealed to everything Sarah valued most. She thought about the terrorists and foreign agents who use technology to threaten innocent people, and the satisfaction of using her skills to stop them. I'm interested, Sarah said firmly. What's the next step? Director Wells handed her a thick packet of documents. Complete these forms and return them within 48 hours. If you're selected, you'll begin a 6-month training program at our facility in Virginia. The work will be classified, which means you can't discuss it with family, friends, or anyone else without proper clearance. Sarah accepted the packet, feeling the weight of the decision in her hands. Can I ask why you approached me specifically? There must be hundreds of qualified candidates. Because you've already proven something important, Wells replied. When faced with unfair treatment and discouragement, you didn't give up or compromise your standards. You maintained your integrity and continued working toward your goals despite significant obstacles. That kind of character is more valuable than technical skills alone. The director stood and extended her hand. Agent Martinez thought he was ending your government service career. Instead, he may have redirected you toward exactly where you belong. Sarah shook hands firmly. Thank you for this opportunity. I won't disappoint you. I don't believe you will. Report to this address next Monday if you decide to accept. Wells handed Sarah another card with a different location. And, Ms. Chen? This conversation never happened. The flight back to San Francisco gave Sarah time to think. The CIA opportunity represented everything she had hoped to find in federal service, but it also meant leaving behind any chance of a normal life. Agents often worked overseas for years, maintained cover identities, and faced constant physical and psychological pressures. She thought about her parents, who had immigrated to America when she was 5 years old. They had worked multiple jobs to put her through college, dreaming of their daughter finding stability and success in a safe profession. Intelligence work was neither stable nor safe. But Sarah also remembered the pride in her father's voice when she told him about her FBI acceptance. Her parents had fled China partly because of government oppression and surveillance. They understood the value of living in a country where intelligence agencies served the people rather than controlling them. That evening, Sarah called her parents and carefully explained the new opportunity without revealing specific details. Her mother worried about the dangers involved, but her father listened thoughtfully. "Daughter, we came to this country so you could use your talents to make a difference," he said finally. "If this is how you believe you can serve best, then you have our support." Sarah spent the weekend completing her application. The background investigation would be extensive, covering every aspect of her life since childhood. Character references, financial records, social media activity, academic transcripts, and interviews with everyone from elementary school teachers to college roommates. She submitted the forms Monday morning and received confirmation that her application was being processed. The waiting period would take several weeks while investigators verified every detail of her background. During those weeks, Sarah continued her freelance work but felt increasingly disconnected from corporate cybersecurity projects. She knew that whatever happened with the CIA, she had found her true calling in government service rather than private sector work. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. Director Wells' voice was all business. "Ms. Chen, your background investigation has been completed successfully. Report to Camp Peary in Virginia this coming Monday for the beginning of your training program. Pack for an extended stay, and remember that all activities will be classified." Sarah felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervous energy. Camp Peary was known as the farm among intelligence professionals, the legendary CIA training facility where America's spies learned their craft. "Thank you, Director Wells. I'll be there." "One more thing," Wells added. "Your former instructor Agent Martinez recently applied for a position with our agency. His application was denied based on his demonstrated bias and poor judgment in evaluating personnel. I thought you might appreciate knowing that." Sarah smiled for the first time in months. Justice sometimes moved slowly, but it did move. She spent the weekend saying goodbye to friends without explaining where she was going or when she might return. Her cover story involved a consulting contract with a government contractor that required travel and confidentiality agreements. Sunday night, Sarah packed her belongings and prepared for the next chapter of her life. She thought about the long journey from her childhood bedroom where she had taught herself programming to this moment when she would begin training as a CIA operative. The rejection from FBI training had felt like the end of her dreams. Instead, it had been the beginning of something far greater than anything she had originally imagined. Camp Peary looked nothing like Quantico. Instead of formal military buildings, the farm resembled a small college campus hidden among Virginia forests. Modern facilities were scattered among trees and walking paths, designed to feel welcoming rather than intimidating. Sarah arrived Monday morning to find 11 other trainees waiting in a comfortable conference room. Unlike her FBI class, this group was older and more diverse. Former military officers sat beside PhD researchers, while linguists chatted with computer scientists. Everyone seemed to bring specialized expertise rather than generic law enforcement background. The woman who introduced herself as Instructor Davis appeared to be around 50, with short gray hair and laugh lines around intelligent eyes. Her manner was professional but warm, completely different from the hostile atmosphere Sarah had experienced with Agent Martinez. "Welcome to your new career," Davis began. "Over the next 6 months, you'll learn skills that most people never imagine exist. But first, let's be clear about why you're here. Each of you possesses specific talents that serve American interests abroad. You're not here to become generic agents, but to develop your unique capabilities within intelligence framework." Sarah felt immediate relief. The emphasis on individual strengths rather than conformity to rigid standards suggested this environment would value her innovative approach rather than punish it. The first weeks covered basic intelligence tradecraft. Surveillance techniques, counter-surveillance, secure communications, and cover identity development formed the foundation of every lesson. But, unlike FBI training, instructors encouraged creative solutions and unconventional thinking. During a surveillance exercise in nearby Richmond, trainees were assigned to follow a target without being detected. While others used traditional methods like changing appearance and maintaining distance, Sarah employed technology solutions. She identified the target's smartphone through public Wi-Fi networks and tracked his movements digitally while maintaining visual contact from much farther away. Instead of criticism, her approach earned praise from instructors and study by fellow trainees. The integration of cyber capabilities with traditional human intelligence was exactly the kind of innovation the agency sought. Sarah's technical background proved valuable during communications training. While other students struggled with encryption protocols and secure messaging systems, she quickly mastered not just usage but underlying security principles. She identified vulnerabilities in training equipment that could have compromised real operations. "Excellent work," Instructor Davis commented after Sarah demonstrated a flaw in their practice communication system. Field operatives rarely understand technology well enough to spot those kinds of risks. Physical training at the farm emphasized practical skills over general fitness. Rather than running obstacle courses for time, trainees learned defensive driving, escape and evasion, and situational awareness techniques. Sarah discovered she had natural aptitude for pattern recognition and threat assessment. Combat training focused on survival rather than aggression. Female trainees received specialized instruction in personal protection and defensive techniques adapted to different physical capabilities. Sarah learned to use her smaller size and technical knowledge as advantages rather than limitations. The psychological aspects of intelligence work proved most challenging. Trainees practiced developing relationships with foreign nationals, eliciting information through casual conversation, and maintaining cover identities under pressure. Sarah struggled initially with deception, having grown up valuing honesty and direct communication. "Think of it as playing a role in service of a greater truth," advised Dr. Richardson, the program psychologist. "You're not lying to hurt people, but protecting information that keeps Americans safe." The deception serves a moral purpose. Language training revealed unexpected talent. Sarah's experience learning programming languages apparently transferred to human languages as well. She achieved conversational proficiency in Mandarin within 2 months, building on childhood exposure to Chinese from her grandmother. "We might want to consider her for East Asia operations," she overheard one instructor comment to another. Sarah felt excitement at the prospect of using her heritage and language skills in intelligence work. Halfway through training, students began specialization tracks based on their intended roles. Sarah joined the Cyber Operations Group, learning advanced techniques for digital espionage and cyber warfare defense. The work involved penetrating foreign computer systems, analyzing enemy capabilities, and developing countermeasures to protect American interests. Her first major exercise involved investigating a simulated threat from a hostile nation's cyber warfare unit. Sarah was given minimal initial information and asked to identify the scope and methods of their operations. Within days, she had mapped their entire network, identified key personnel, and predicted their likely targets. "This is exceptional work," commented Dr. Marcus Webb, the cyber operations chief. "You've demonstrated intuitive understanding of how foreign intelligence services operate online. Your analysis would have prevented significant damage in a real scenario." The exercise results earned Sarah recognition as the top student in cyber operations. More importantly, it confirmed that she had found her perfect role within intelligence community. The combination of technical challenge, strategic importance, and service to national security satisfied every aspect of her career goals. Personal relationships among trainees developed naturally despite the competitive environment. Sarah became close friends with Miguel Santos, a former Navy linguist specializing in Latin American operations, and Jennifer Clark, a former State Department analyst with expertise in Middle Eastern affairs. "It's incredible how different this is from military training," Miguel observed one evening as the three friends walked around the campus. "They actually want us to think for ourselves here." Jennifer nodded. "I was worried about leaving diplomatic service, but this feels like where I can really make a difference." Embassy work was mostly paperwork and protocol. Here we're learning to actually influence events. Sarah appreciated having peers who understood the unusual challenges of intelligence work. They could discuss training experiences and career concerns without worrying about security clearances or cover stories. As training progressed, Sarah received increasingly complex assignments that combined multiple skills. One exercise required her to establish a cover identity as a tech consultant, develop a relationship with a foreign national, and extract information about his government's cyber capabilities without arousing suspicion. The assignment took 3 weeks and required Sarah to travel to a nearby city, establish temporary residence, and maintain her cover while completing the mission. She successfully gained the target's trust, learned about vulnerabilities in his country's computer networks, and extracted valuable intelligence without compromising her identity. Outstanding performance, Director Wells commented during Sarah's evaluation. You've demonstrated mastery of both technical and human intelligence methods. Your ability to combine cyber operations with traditional tradecraft makes you an ideal candidate for overseas assignment. The mention of overseas work thrilled Sarah. Foreign posting represented the ultimate challenge for intelligence officers, requiring complete immersion in cover identity while operating in potentially hostile territory. During her final month of training, Sarah learned about specific threats facing American interests in various regions. Chinese cyber espionage, Russian disinformation campaigns, terrorist communication networks, and emerging technologies being weaponized by hostile nations. Each briefing reinforced the importance of skilled cyber operations specialists in protecting national security. Her graduation exercise required planning and executing a complete cyber intelligence operation against a simulated foreign government. Sarah spent 2 weeks developing infiltration methods, identifying key targets, and creating extraction protocols for stolen information. The operation succeeded beyond expectations. Sarah penetrated multiple secure networks, gathered intelligence on military capabilities and government communications, and extracted the information without leaving traces of American involvement. This represents master-level work, Dr. Webb told her during the final evaluation. Your technical skills are matched by excellent operational judgment. You understand both the possibilities and limitations of cyber operations. Graduation day arrived with a small ceremony attended by senior agency officials. Unlike her experience at Quantico, Sarah felt genuine pride in her accomplishments and confidence in her future role. Director Wells presented her with credentials identifying her as a CIA operative specializing in cyber operations. Ms. Chen, you've exceeded every expectation we had when we recruited you. Your first assignment will be challenging but perfectly suited to your capabilities. Sarah accepted her credentials with deep satisfaction. The journey from rejected FBI trainee to CIA operative had been difficult but ultimately rewarding. She had found not just employment but a calling that matched her skills with her values. After the ceremony, Sarah called her parents with carefully chosen words. I completed my training program successfully and received my permanent position. I'll be traveling frequently for work, but I'm exactly where I belong. Her father's pride was evident even through the phone. We always knew you would find your way to serve your country well. That evening, Sarah packed for her first assignment overseas. The location was classified, but she knew it would test everything she had learned during training. The scared young woman who had left Quantico 6 months earlier was gone, replaced by a confident intelligence professional ready to protect American interests anywhere in the world. The briefing room at CIA headquarters in Langley was filled with tension as Sarah received her first operational assignment. Director Wells sat across from her with Dr. Webb and 2 other senior officials she didn't recognize. Your destination is Hong Kong, Wells began, sliding a thick folder across the table. You'll be operating undercover as a cybersecurity consultant for American companies doing business in the region. Your real mission is to investigate Chinese military cyber operations targeting U.S. defense contractors. Sarah opened the folder to find detailed intelligence reports about a sophisticated hacking group known as Ghost Dragon. The organization had successfully penetrated dozens of American companies, stealing everything from weapons designs to satellite communication protocols. Intelligence suggests Ghost Dragon operates from a facility in mainland China, but they're recruiting assets in Hong Kong to help with their operations, Dr. Webb explained. Traditional human intelligence hasn't been able to penetrate their organization. We need someone who can approach them from the technical side. The operation would require Sarah to establish herself in Hong Kong's cybersecurity community, identify Ghost Dragon recruiters, and hopefully gain access to their operations. The work was dangerous because discovery would likely mean imprisonment or worse in Chinese custody. You'll have backup and extraction protocols, but your cover identity must be maintained at all costs, well stressed. Any exposure would compromise not just this operation but potentially dozens of other agents working in the region. Sarah studied the mission files for hours, memorizing details about her cover identity, target organization, and operational objectives. Rebecca Martinez would be her name, an ironic twist given her history with Agent Martinez. She would be a freelance cybersecurity specialist with clients throughout Asia. 3 weeks later, Sarah landed in Hong Kong carrying credentials and equipment that perfectly supported her cover story. The city's combination of Western business culture and Chinese political influence made it an ideal environment for intelligence operations. She rented an apartment in the mid-levels district and established an office space in a building popular with international consultants. Within days, Rebecca Martinez had business cards, a professional website, and initial contacts in the local cybersecurity community. The work of building her cover proved more complex than training exercises. Every interaction had to be carefully managed to maintain her false identity while gathering intelligence about potential targets. She attended industry conferences, joined professional associations, and gradually built relationships with legitimate security professionals. After 6 weeks of careful preparation, Sarah made her first contact with someone connected to Ghost Dragon. David Liu was a young programmer who worked for a Hong Kong tech company but seemed to have access to resources beyond his official position. He approached her after a presentation she gave on network security vulnerabilities. "Your analysis of advanced persistent threats was very interesting," Liu commented over coffee after the conference. "I represent some clients who might benefit from your expertise." The conversation was carefully neutral, but Sarah recognized the recruitment approach from her training. Liu was evaluating her technical skills and moral flexibility without revealing his true affiliations. Over the following weeks, Sarah developed a professional relationship with Liu while maintaining her cover identity. She demonstrated impressive technical capabilities during legitimate consulting work while expressing frustration with American corporate security practices. "Companies in the US are so bureaucratic," she complained during one of their meetings. "They want perfect security but won't pay for proper implementation. Sometimes I think organizations in other countries are more serious about protecting valuable information." Liu's interest increased noticeably. He began asking more specific questions about her background and experience with defense industry clients. Sarah carefully provided information that made her seem valuable but not suspiciously knowledgeable about intelligence operations. The breakthrough came when Liu invited her to a private meeting with his clients. They met in a nondescript office building in Tsim Sha Tsui, where Sarah found herself facing 3 men who clearly weren't local businessmen. "Ms. Martinez, we understand you have access to American defense contractor networks," the leader said in accented English. "We represent clients who would pay substantial amounts for certain types of technical information." Sarah feigned nervousness while expressing interest in their proposal. "What kind of information are we talking about? I can't do anything that would violate my professional ethics." The irony of discussing professional ethics while participating in economic espionage wasn't lost on her, but maintaining character was essential. Over the next hour, they outlined their requirements: access to research data from American aerospace companies, communication protocols used by military contractors, and technical specifications for satellite systems. "We can provide advance payment and ongoing compensation for useful information," Liu added. "Many Western professionals find our arrangement mutually beneficial." Sarah agreed to consider their proposal while internally celebrating the successful penetration of their recruitment network. She had identified key personnel in Ghost Dragon's Hong Kong operations and learned about their specific intelligence requirements. During the following weeks, Sarah participated in increasingly sensitive operations while reporting everything back to CIA handlers through secure communication channels. She learned about Ghost Dragon's technical capabilities, their methods for penetrating American networks, and their connections to Chinese military intelligence. The work required careful balance between providing enough real information to maintain her cover while ensuring nothing truly valuable was compromised. CIA technical specialists created convincing but harmless data that satisfied Ghost Dragon's expectations without damaging American interests. Sarah's success in the Hong Kong operation led to expanded responsibilities. She identified other Ghost Dragon assets throughout the region, helped map their operational structure, and provided intelligence that enabled the Pentagon to protect vulnerable defense contractors from future attacks. Her cover identity became so well established that other foreign intelligence services began approaching Rebecca Martinez for her services. Sarah found herself simultaneously penetrating Chinese, Russian, and North Korean cyber espionage networks while maintaining her primary mission against Ghost Dragon. The operation reached its climax when Sarah was invited to visit the Ghost Dragon facility in mainland China. The trip would provide invaluable intelligence about their technical capabilities but also expose her to maximum danger if her true identity was discovered. "This is an extraordinary opportunity," Director Wells told her during a secure video call. "But the risks are significant. If you're compromised in China, extraction would be extremely difficult." Sarah considered the dangers carefully. Chinese security services were sophisticated and ruthless. Discovery would likely mean imprisonment, interrogation, and possible execution as a spy. But the intelligence value of accessing Ghost Dragon's primary facility was enormous. "I want to proceed," she decided. "My cover identity is solid, and this might be our only chance to understand their full capabilities." The trip to Shenzhen was arranged through Liu, who vouched for Rebecca Martinez's trustworthiness to his superiors. Sarah traveled with credentials identifying her as a Hong Kong resident visiting for business purposes, carrying equipment and documentation that perfectly supported her cover story. The Ghost Dragon facility was located in an anonymous office building among hundreds of similar structures in Shenzhen's technology district. From the outside, it looked like any other software company. Inside, Sarah found sophisticated computer laboratories and security measures that rivaled anything in American government facilities. For 3 days, Sarah worked alongside Ghost Dragon programmers while secretly documenting their methods, capabilities, and organizational structure. She discovered they had successfully penetrated far more American systems than intelligence analysts had realized, and their technical sophistication exceeded previous estimates. The information she gathered would fundamentally change how American intelligence agencies understood Chinese cyber warfare capabilities. Her detailed reporting enabled the Pentagon to develop new defensive measures and identify previously unknown vulnerabilities in critical systems. Sarah's extraction from mainland China required careful coordination with CIA assets throughout the region. She left Shenzhen as Rebecca Martinez but disappeared during a layover in Bangkok, emerging days later as Sarah Chen at a safe house in Singapore. The intelligence coup she had achieved was recognized at the highest levels of American government. Her infiltration of Ghost Dragon provided information that protected billions of dollars in defense research and helped secure critical military communications systems. Director Wells met her personally when she returned to Washington 6 months after beginning the Hong Kong assignment. "Your work has been exceptional," Wells said. "You've proven that the agency's investment in your development was completely justified." Sarah felt deep satisfaction knowing her skills had served American interests so effectively. The young woman who had been dismissed from FBI training had evolved into one of CIA's most successful cyber operations specialists. The success in Hong Kong led to assignments throughout Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Sarah spent the next several years developing expertise in foreign intelligence services while protecting American interests in an increasingly connected world. Her reputation within the intelligence community grew as she successfully completed operations that others considered impossible. Foreign governments never suspected that the talented cybersecurity consultant working in their midst was actually one of America's most effective intelligence operatives. Years later, when Sarah received a prestigious award for distinguished service to national security, she thought about the unfair treatment she had endured at Quantico. Agent Martinez's bias and prejudice had nearly ended her government service career before it began. Instead, his failure to recognize her capabilities had redirected her toward exactly where she belonged. The CIA provided an environment that valued innovation, rewarded creative thinking, and appreciated the unique perspective she brought to intelligence work. The ceremony took place in the same Langley building where she had first met director Wells years earlier. As she accepted recognition for operations that would remain classified for decades, Sarah reflected on the unpredictable path that had led her to this moment. Sometimes rejection was simply redirection towards something better than originally imagined. The skills that made her unsuitable for traditional law enforcement had made her perfect for intelligence operations that protected American interests around the world. Her story became a quiet legend within intelligence circles, though her name would never appear in public records. Young officers learned about the agent who had turned rejection into triumph through persistence, skill, and determination to serve her country despite obstacles. Sarah Chin had found her calling not in spite of being different, but because of it. In a profession that demanded exceptional individuals capable of extraordinary achievements, she had discovered the perfect place for her unique talents.